Around the world, conflicts are on the rise.
Civil war in Sudan.
The war in Gaza.
The civil war in Syria. War in Ukraine.
The causes are numerous and complex, but there's one thing making them all worse: climate change.
Conflict and climate change has left millions in jeopardy of starvation.
Our changing climate can fuel armed conflicts.
Droughts, floods, scarce resources, and mass displacement. These all push people into more desperate situations, increasing the risk of armed conflict and social unrest. Here's how climate change and conflict intersect. In some regions, like East Africa, the climate crisis is escalating conflict, and in others, making it more likely.
Countries like Sudan, going through conflicts and suffering from the climate crisis, need to be dealt with in urgency. It's now clear more than ever that climate change induces conflicts and vice versa.
Conflicts also make climate adaptation much more difficult. It can be hard and dangerous to rebuild after a flood, grow food during a drought, or find safe shelter during a monsoon. And both conflict and climate change can impact vital resources.
Nigeria, South Sudan, Yemen, and Afghanistan are on the brink of starvation.
More than 18 million Sudanese are facing acute hunger because of the civil war in Sudan.
This can exacerbate already existing tensions and reduce reliable access to life-saving services like emergency healthcare or law enforcement. The result? Well, it can make domestic and gender-based violence more likely, as well as larger-scale violent conflict.
You're going to find the origins of the political conflict in Sudan were due to climate change. For example, agriculture, the backbone of Sudan economy, is extremely impacted by the floods, which are the impacts of climate change, and also impacted by the conflict and the political instability in Sudan.
It may be no coincidence that many regions embroiled in conflict are also the worst affected by climate change. Of the 25 countries facing the greatest climate change threats, 14 are experiencing conflict, and it's a vicious cycle. When countries experience conflict, their governments and institutions can begin to fail. That means less relief for those who need it, and fewer protections against things getting even worse.
Humanitarian assistance from international community is needed in Sudan now more than ever.
Because conflict and climate feed into each other, they can't be treated in isolation, especially since countries most affected by climate change often do the least to contribute to emissions. That's why countries in the global north, often spared the worst effects of a crisis they primarily caused, have an obligation to remedy the harm they are responsible for, especially to countries dealing with twin crises that play off of each other.
It is crucial for everyone, everywhere, to advocate for climate justice and climate solution, urgent climate solutions, especially in global south countries like mine, Sudan.